I remember way back trying to run more than like 2 blocks. Seriously, I thought my lungs were just going to quit on me. It felt, well, impossible. Like trying to hike across a massive desert with just a tiny bit of water. But then, you start learning things, tasting, breaking it down, and suddenly that huge, impossible thing, it starts to feel, achievable. So today we're doing a deep dive into something I find really fascinating, the surprising links between long-distance running and effective leadership. Our guide for this is a great Substack piece by Ranga Jaganath. It's called 8 Leadership Lessons from Distance Running. Part of his larger work, Distance Running, a leader's marathon guide. And our mission here is really to pull out those practical insights, the stuff you can actually use. We want to find those nuggets that help you navigate your own marathons, whether that's at work or in your personal life, basically giving you a shortcut to getting properly informed in this whole unique angle. What I think makes Ranga's point so strong is his own story. Cross-country running used to be his Achilles heel, he says. But then it became this source of calm and purpose for him, along with family, of course. It's just amazing how a simple physical thing like running can teach us so much about leadership complexity.
It really is quite something. And what's fascinating, I think, is how these universal truths about discipline, sticking with it, strategy, they often pop up really clearly in specific disciplined activities, like running. This deep dive is going to show how that focused prep for a marathon mirrors almost perfectly the strategic and mental game of leadership. Turns out endurance principles aren't just for the track.
Okay, let's lace up then. First lesson Ranga brings up, a sense of purpose.
Right. So a marathon, it's precisely 42.195 kilometers or 26.2 miles. That distance, that schedule, it's fixed, non-negotiable. That gives the runner this incredibly clear sense of direction, purpose. And the article really stresses this. Finishing isn't luck. It's about getting the ingredients right. Goals, training, food, water, all thought out. If you don't follow through on that plan, well, he calls it a perfect recipe for failure.
Yeah, that clarity is striking. In leadership, we talk purpose constantly, but it often feels, well, fuzzier, maybe more like a slogan sometimes. So how does that unyielding nature of the marathon goal give us a lesson for leaders trying to set direction?
It really pushes us, doesn't it? Makes you ask, is our company's purpose truly non-negotiable? Like that 26.2 miles. Runners don't suddenly decide, 15 miles is fine today.
Yeah.
Good leaders need that same kind of resolve when defining purpose. It has to be unwavering, and then they have to provide the ingredients, the resources, the strategy, the support, so that the team can actually hit that target. It's not just having a purpose, it's about it being the solid foundation that guides everything, like the finish line for the runner.
Okay, so purpose is set. It's clear, like the finish line.
Yeah.
But you can't just sprint the whole 26.2 miles. You have to.
Break it down, exactly. Which leads straight into Ranga's second lesson. No decent marathon plan just says run a marathon. No way. They have specific sub-goals, right? Different types of runs, rest days, milestones. That way the coach, the athlete, they can track progress, see what's working, adjust things if needed, without losing sight of the big goal.
Makes total sense for running. The feedback's immediate, you feel it in your body. But leadership, the finish line can be vaguer. Consequences might lag. How do we make sure that breakdown, that feedback loop actually works? What are the mile splits for a big project?
That's where the leadership discipline comes in, I think. You have to provide the big picture, yes, the ultimate goal, but also the practical stuff, the tools, checkpoints, and feedback mechanisms, as the article puts it, ways to measure progress regularly. It shows how even massive goals feel less daunting when you slice them into smaller, trackable steps. So the question for you listening, do you have those intermediate milestones, those feedback loops set up? Are you tracking your splits?
Right. But even with the best plan, sometimes things go wrong. A bad run happens, and Ranga covers this next. Fail and learn early.
Yeah, he talks about having these subpar runs, times when he just didn't hit his targets. But what's key is what he did next. Immediate introspection. He didn't just, shrug it off. He dug in what went wrong. Nutrition, sleep, pacing, and then crucially, he made course corrections for the next time.
That feedback in running is so direct, isn't it? A side stitch, feeling exhausted, seeing your pace drop. You can't ignore it. Often in, say, business failures, the feedback is delayed or it gets blamed on external factors. So how do leaders develop that kind of internal runner's awareness? How do we spot and fix failures quickly before they snowball, instead of just waiting for the review meeting?
Well, the article argues it's imperative for leaders to quickly and objectively analyze failures, and then develop a solid plan for course correction, timely correction, speed, and objectivity. Those are the key words here. It's about fostering a culture where setbacks aren't about blame, they're data. Data for immediate adjustment. So when you stumble, how fast, how honestly do you analyze it and adjust your stride?
That analytical piece, looking at what went wrong,
Mm-hmm.
that naturally leads to getting outside input too, right? Which is the next lesson. Feedback is key.
Absolutely. Running feels very individual, doesn't it? But Ranga uses that great African proverb, it takes a village to raise a child. He says it totally applies. A runner's team coach, training partners, maybe physio, they give support, sure, but they also give that crucial, sometimes tough, unflinching feedback, the stuff that actually helps you improve.
That really pushes back against the lone wolf leader idea, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Leaders need to be independent, have strong views, yeah. But the article suggests it's just as vital to have people around, peers maybe, who give you that unflinching feedback.
Mhm.
I wonder, though, are leaders, especially at the very top, actually good at seeking out and really listening to that tough feedback? It feels like it could be really uncomfortable.
Oh, it definitely can be uncomfortable, no doubt. But that's where the parallel is so powerful. A runner needs a coach to see things they can't, a flaw in their form, maybe. A leader needs trusted advisors who aren't afraid to point out the blind spots, tell them the truth. It's about intentionally building that village where honest feedback is actually valued, sought out, and acted on, not just, tolerated. So ask yourself, who's in your village? Who gives you the feedback you really need?
And assuming you're getting that feedback, things are going well, your stride feels good. The next lesson says, don't get complacent. Push the boundaries.
Right. The author's point is, when the workouts start feeling easy, that's your cue. It's time to raise the bar. Just staying in your comfort zone, your current performance level, he says it deters runners. It actually hurts performance over time. You just stagnate or even slide back.
Okay, I get the parallel. Challenge the status quo. Don't get comfortable. But isn't there a risk of pushing too hard? Like a runner overtraining and getting injured. How do leaders find that balance between pushing for more and, sustainable growth, avoiding breaking things?
That's a really important point. It's not about being reckless. It's about intentional growth, calculated stretching.
Hmm.
A leader who never pushes boundaries, who just maintains, well, the article says they're doing a great disservice to the organization and themselves. They aren't getting ready for what's coming next. It's the leaders who have consistently pushed themselves, stretched their capabilities, who are ready when that next big challenge arrives. It's proactive stretching, not just reactive scrambling.
Yeah.
So, are you consistently raising your own bar? Or are you maybe a bit too comfortable right now?
Speaking of injuries from pushing too hard, that brings us neatly to lesson 6, maybe the most crucial one. Do not burn out.
Oh, absolutely vital. The source is really clear on this. Rest and recovery. They are key elements in any serious marathon plan, period. Runners who skip adequate breaks, they risk physical breakdown, mental fatigue, and they might end up missing the race they trained so hard for. Rest isn't optional, it's part of the training itself.
This hits home for leadership, doesn't it? Sustainable performance. A leader working ceaselessly without rejuvenating mentally and physically. They become less effective. They might end up missing the goal. It's a powerful reminder. But why do you think we society, leaders, often treat rest like it's, well, lazy or an indulgence, not a performance tool?
It's a tough one. Maybe it's that deep-seated busy equals important culture. I don't know. But a runner knows their body needs recovery. Pushing past limits constantly leads to disaster. Simple as that. Leaders need to internalize that same truth for their mental energy, their physical health. It's not just self-care in a fluffy sense. It's about maintaining peak effectiveness over the long haul. It's strategic. So how are you ensuring your own rest and recovery are actually built into your plan, not just an afterthought?
That idea of individual limits and needs, that flows perfectly into lesson 7, to each their own.
Yeah, this is apparently a common saying in running circles. And it makes sense. Every runner is different, right? Unique body, unique mind, different training that works for them, different diet needs. Even the race courses vary wildly. So the key takeaway is run your own race that reflects your unique strengths. Trying to copy someone else, someone with a different build, different history, it's usually a recipe for disappointment. Or, like you said, injury.
I find this really relevant for leadership. There's often so much pressure, isn't there, to copy the star CEO or adopt the latest trendy leadership style. And the business world is full of unknowns, as the article says. Competitors' plans, market shifts, things you can't predict. So how does knowing yourself, your own strengths, help a leader resist that pressure to conform and truly run their own race?
It boils down to self-awareness, authenticity. Every leader brings something unique to the table. The trick is to Identify and play to one's strengths, not try to win using someone else's playbook. Trying to mimic another leader's style, just like copying their running form, it rarely feels right, rarely works long term. It's often ineffective. It's about figuring out what you do best in your specific situation and really leaning into that. So, are you consciously playing to your strengths? Or are you maybe trying too hard to run someone else's race?
Okay, and that brings us to the final lesson. Number 8, maybe one we forget too often. Celebrate your success.
Yes. Every run, the author says, whether it's a quick jog or the full marathon, brings that unadulterated joy and the thrill of completion. So it's vital to acknowledge that, celebrate those wins individually and maybe with your running buddies or team. Think about the finish line, the cheering, the medals, the relief, the high fives. It matters.
It's funny, runners seem to get this instinctively, but leaders, especially in really fast-moving jobs, it often feels like we finish one thing and boom, we're straight on to the next crisis, the next target, no pause. Why do you think leaders sometimes skip that simple joy? The joy of working with people, hitting a goal. Why don't we celebrate the milestones more?
And maybe it loops back to that relentless drive, the no burnout lesson. We forget to pause. But just like a runner needs that sense of accomplishment to fuel the next training run, people and organizations need that recognition, that celebration. Every milestone that an organization crosses deserves a celebration. It's not trivial. It validates all the hard work. It reinforces the purpose. It builds team spirit. So when was the last time you really, truly celebrated a milestone, even a small one, in your work or personal life?
So wrapping this all up, this deep dive really shows that a distance runner's mindset, their discipline, it offers some surprisingly deep practical lessons for leadership, for tackling any big goal, really. It's definitely about more than just, physical stamina.
Absolutely. And there's a powerful quote from Nelson Mandela. After climbing a great hill, one only finds that there are many more hills to climb. That connects so perfectly, doesn't it? To running and to leadership. The journey, it just keeps evolving. It never really ends.
Exactly. Neither job is easy.
Hmm.
Running a marathon, leading a team,
Yeah.
both tough. But as Ranga Jagannath puts it, if you get the mix right, preparation, smart work, rest, humility, and a sense of fulfillment, then you really can scale newer and higher peaks.
Yeah. So hopefully this deep dive gets you thinking about the ingredients you're putting into your own personal or professional marathon, and maybe how these lessons might help you finish strong, whatever your course looks like.
So we'll leave you with this thought. Which of these 8 lessons really hit home for you right now? Which one resonates with your current challenges? And how might you apply just that one thing starting today? Here's to your own personal and professional marathon.